Hey, everybody. Welcome to Popular Unknown Paintball Live. I don't know why I do the finger guns every time. People are like, why do you do finger guns? I don't know, but I do. Finger guns. Anyway, welcome to the show. I am very excited. I literally have one of my favorite guests of all time on this show tonight, and it is HONU, and he's just sitting down there in the green room right now. And he can hear me, but I can't hear him. So I can see him flipping me the bird. He's not really, I'm just saying. He could be. We'll never know. I'll never tell. But that being beside the point, I love having HONU on because he's so great to interact with. I'll ask him a question and he gives stories and I love it. So I am very, very excited to have him on. But before I get him on, I do have one thing to say. I've got a lot of questions from people that watch the show and they ask me what this is. All right. And they're like, what's the silver thing on your mic boom? And I said, well, basically, and I try telling people every now and then, but some people listen, some people don't. For those of you that are wondering, it's best that I just show you. It's blinding me with science. Science. It's a light. When I work at night, I like having a switch, and that way I don't have to turn on all the stuff, and I can just turn that on, see my keyboard, work away for various things. So, yeah, getting old sucks, not having the full night vision. That's all that is. It's a light. Anyway, so we are here to talk paintball, and we are here to talk to HONU. And HONU, like I said, is just awesome. And I wanted to get him on the show because I was very excited because he did the Bones and Ashes, which was just the weekend past. And they had something like 800 people there, which is just awesome because COVID sucks. And I'm just so glad to be actually knowing that paintball's getting up and rolling again. Thankfully, you guys in the States are lucky. You're not fully shut down. England, sorry about your luck. And Canada, here's hoping. I was supposed to be at Wasaga Beach next week playing Frosty's Revenge. Wasaga Beach, so I figured I'd rep it a little bit. But unfortunately, they had to cancel because they got the English variant and just shut everything down. Oh, we got Rob Hansen saying, what up, Steve? And just the show, buddy, just the show. And Facebook user says, nice lighting. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. All right, so let's get HONU on. All right. Hey, HONU, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Great. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so your lighting puts my lighting to shame. Why is your lighting better than my lighting? You tell me this.
I don't know. It's the lighting I got out here on my on the lanai out on the back of my house.
You did this on purpose, didn't you? You did this. It's like, let's show up the and I'm just going to make my lighting better than his.
Well, you know, we're in South Florida, so you got to have some sort of like neon lighting because, you know, 80s Miami Vice.
Nice. Oh, we got Andy saying 7 feet of snow coming, no balling here this weekend. Well, that's Denver, Colorado, for those who are wondering. And hey, Andy, good to see you on. And that's kind of funny. Devon Schwartz saying Facebook user. And greetings to all. Just got back from Bones and Ashes and now ready for a 10-man tournament this weekend. Facebook user, I don't know who you are, but yeah, I hear Bones and Ashes was fantastic, which is why I've got this guy on to tell me all about it. So I hear it was a great turnout.
Yeah, it was really cool. Going into about 9 days left in pre-reg, we were tracking the first year we had 300, the second year we had 400, the third year 500. We were tracking right on that. I'm like, all right, we're going to have a 600 player game. And then in the last 9 days of pre-reg, we had another 249 people sign up.
Wow.
So it just went through the roof. And I mean, it's fantastic that people were excited, wanted to get out and come do it. But we were kind of scrambling a little bit. I had to order more paint. We had to order the field, order more food. I tried to order more first strikes, which was just not happening. So I ended up buying all the ones that the field owned at both of their fields. I bought them out of all their first strikes so we'd have some extra day of. And yeah, I mean, it was fantastic that many people wanted to come out and kind of kick off the season like that. So
that's amazing. With so many places that are shut down, it's nice to hear that events are happening again. Like, yes.
Yeah, and it was cool because there was definitely people there that were more comfortable having their masks on, and
Sure.
some people that didn't want to have them there. And we'd kind of asked ahead of time for everybody to kind of respect the other one. I don't do politics. I don't do any of that
No.
kind of junk, and it's about respecting whoever you interact with. So the whole goal is I just asked people, if somebody walks towards you and they got a mask on, have a mask in your pocket, toss it on. Help that person be comfortable being there. It's already a big step. If they have a mask on, it's already an extra big step for them to be there at that moment. So make it comfortable for them. And everybody across the board was very good about respecting their fellow baller, which is fantastic.
Well, I hear that, and I think that's a big thing in paintball culture anyway. Respecting the fellow baller and stuff. Like, I mean, off topic slightly for a second. Did you see the little video I did a couple weeks back for being 2 years old, like the podcast
Mm-hmm.
with Elvis? In that video, it's just a barrage of pictures, but in that video, there are openly gay homosexuals. There is a transgender person. There is a brain surgeon. There is a convicted felon. There is
Right.
the sheer scope of paintball. Like there's even a amateur pornographic actor in there. So like I kid you not. Like, I mean, it's got everything, and I did that on purpose because that's paintball. So I'm really glad to hear that at Bones and Ashes everything was going well, and that for the most part that like no paintball event will ever go seamlessly. It's like herding
No,
cats with a hot poker.
no, not at all. And I mean, that's one of the things that I put up a post the other day, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm almost brutally honest and transparent, almost to a fault. Like I almost tell you
Right.
everybody too much information. But part of that is if I tell you it's going bad and we're working on it, you also know I really mean that. Like
Right.
that's the thing. And if it's going fantastic and somebody's like, "Hey, you need help?" I'm like, "No, we're good." Man, that means no, we're good. If I need help, I definitely will ask. And I think that transfers over to the type of player that comes to our events, because when the air was going down and wasn't going great across the board, every single person was more informative when they contacted me or talked to me about the air, as opposed to, "Oh man, this is junk. The air sucks and this is terrible and all this." It was more like, "Hey man, do you know the air's kind of going down? Like, hey, did anybody tell you yet that the air's not up to speed?" That kind of stuff. Like they were definitely more like, "Hey, something's going on. Can you help with it? Just in case you didn't know." And it really gave me that vibe of they expected good air and they expected me to be able to maintain that. So when it wasn't, it was more like, "Hey, he probably doesn't know," more than, "Well, this is just crap." You know what I
Right.
mean? Which is
Yeah.
fantastic, because they gave us I guess the way to say it would be, they gave us the ability to to try to improve the situation,
Right.
and gave us the benefit of the doubt. And we made some moves, some pretty big moves actually, between the field owner and myself. You know, and the people that were involved, like a guy said, like, "Hey, I know where a guy's got a compressor in Georgia. It's 4 hours away one way." And the owner just went to his safe, took a stack of cash, threw it in an envelope, and jumped in his own truck and took off south. I had another guy, Flip Wilson, who's really well known in the Mid Atlantic area and around, and he's just fantastic guy, and always has been. And he's like, "I know where we can rent a compressor for Sunday." Like, boom, go. Here's some cash. Get it. Do whatever you got to do. Takes off. Like, they didn't have to volunteer to do any of that. They could have let the event be what it was. It's certainly not their responsibility,
Right.
but they jumped in there and gave us the opportunity to make it better. So people went to bed on Saturday night kind of bummed, I think, about the air. I mean, we all had a good time. There's a good player party, and they had a singer who was actually real good and all that. But they woke up and the air was better. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely better. And a lot of people are kind of shocked almost that, like, "Hey, how did the air get better?" And then you kind of tell them the story, and people are like, "Wow, okay." Not kind of surprised you guys went to that effort, but you know, it's way better. I felt so much better being able to be like, the air's at least a little bit better than it was, because I felt terrible. I felt like I wasn't doing my
job.
Give you the proper presentation. I want to give you Disneyland of paintball, and I wasn't, and we had to fix it. There just was no way around it.
Nice. So what was the issue with the air? Like, was it just...
It was the amount of people that jumped on at the end of it overall. Just the overall amount of people that came to the game. In a situation like that, we would bring in an outside air vendor normally.
Right.
Like for Living Legends, we don't even attempt at Legacy Park or even at CPX with our massive air system that we had at CPX to do that. We just didn't even try to run the system off that. We brought in the NXL air, and
okay.
you know, they can run the entire NXL. That's a whole bunch of speedballers filling up all at one time.
Yes.
And the air never falters. So we spend that money to do that. It's I mean, to just be honest, it's a significant amount of money. And so we don't try to pull that trigger until the size of the event warrants it. And this event definitely warranted it, but with only 9 days to go when we found that out, there was no time to do anything about it, kind of thing.
Right.
Where we made some phone calls, and the phone calls were, no, we can't get it there by, Friday. So no. Okay. Then let's just do everything we can to cascade the air and all the little tricks you learn over the years. And even that wasn't doing it. So we just had to kind of get through it on Saturday. And while we were sitting around talking about what we're going to do to make it better on Sunday, we just, these couple opportunities presented itself, and we had players come to us on, hey, I can help, but it's going to cost some money, and that's not going to be an issue. We're going to find a way, just like the first strikes. I didn't get first strikes through wholesale and sell them at retail. I bought Nate's at retail because so it was just pass through. I sold them for what I paid for them to make sure that the players had first strikes.
Right.
And, I'll worry about that stuff later. It's better to make the customer happy than make, $5 extra here or there. And so on. And if it costs a little money to improve everybody's Sunday, then there's just no question about the move. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got more people than regular.
Right.
So you're making more just as a general rule, but some things are going to cost more. So
yeah, it's the whole tier.
Having fun.
Yeah, and that's the idea. Like, everybody was having a great time. The Friday night dodgeball was a riot. I thought we'd have this 5-on-5 and guys would rotate in and stuff like that. And again, our players, they're trying to herd cats, but in the most fantastic way.
Right.
They just kind of come up with their own ideas, and they turn 5 versus 5 into 50-on-50. And it was fantastic. It was clearly the right way to do it. And guys are out there with their GoPros and laughing and laying down on the ground, and adults and kids are all intermixing doing it. And they were just having a blast. And I was watching this whole thing like, this is fantastic. This is everything this is supposed to be. And it all came from a couple of my refs joking about it on Facebook. There's a meme going in certain people's hands. This is getting hit with a 22. And they're like, wouldn't this be great at a game? And I'm like, players want it. Let's do it.
Right.
So
now, first of all, have you met or seen Connor? Connor's from Australia.
Oh, no. Hi, Connor.
Hilarious.
Excellent.
So he's been attacking the podcasters around the world like crazy. And I think I put him on first, and since then he's just exploding. So if you get the
awesome.
chance, maybe later, I'm gonna have to introduce you to Connor, because a riot of a guy. So Connor, glad to see you're watching from down under. I can't believe you just called me Moose.
Let's get Connor
to call you Roo or something.
Let's get him out to one of the games.
Absolutely. Well, we got to get him. We got to get him out of Australia first.
All right, yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah. I was so bummed that I missed. Or not that I missed it. Everybody missed Hawaii.
Yeah, the quarantine rules, that one was a tough decision, but again, we kind of do it the way we do all of our stuff. I actually contacted, if you look around at my games, each game in certain areas, I have kind of an unofficial council of people in the general area that we talk to about games, ideas I have for games, or or just general, this is what I'm thinking of doing, what do you think, kind of thing. And I have that out in Hawaii with some of the locals. We're just
Jessica, one of them.
Jessica, exactly.
She's so cool.
She's my number one person. I told her the first day I met her that she's my sister. She just didn't know it. Like, we were separated at birth, because she's just so mellow, so chill. And she's my person we talk to, and they're more disappointed than anybody, because it's such a special time for them that, the paintball community can go out by them and they can experience what we sometimes take for granted in the mainland, in the United States. So when we had our conversation, you can still come, you can still do it. I still want you here. And then what we kind of talked about, like, if it wasn't a paintball event, would you want that many people coming from the mainland to the island, potentially with bringing that much COVID to it, if it was anything but a paintball event? And she's like, no, we probably wouldn't. I'm like, well, see, then I can't do that. I'm like, I would feel horrible forever if I knew that the event caused more COVID into Maui.
Right.
The Hawaiian players have become complete family, and I couldn't do that.
Right.
And she understood, and she got it. And then we talked to the owners, and it just overall, and then the government jumped in anyways and said, hey, even if you pass a test, you got to still quarantine for 2 weeks. And that's completely unfair to ask any of our players. I mean, who could do that? I can't even do that.
Yeah.
From a producer standpoint.
That's one of the reasons why I wasn't able to make it to Bones and Ashes.
Right.
Like, I was contemplating it. My government said, okay, you can leave the country just like you have for Denver and Kissimmee and whatnot. Right. But you come back, it's going to cost you $3,000 to quarantine in a hotel of our choice for 3 days while you get immediately tested. And then if you test negative, you go home and you still quarantine for 2 weeks.
Right.
And it was just, yeah.
And we've had some of the Canadian ballers donating their registrations. Like, they signed up for things last year and couldn't come. And we're trying to be as helpful as we can with them. So we keep kicking them down the road to other events on hoping things will open up. And a few of them have donated stuff. And they're like, look, I'm just not going to be able to come. I'd like to donate my registration to a kid, find a kid, give my whole registration to them, and at least something good happens from it.
Right.
So they're being so generous that it's only fair for us to, I see what you're doing and I'm going to hit the ball back at you. I'll donate your whole registration to that kid, but you still get to keep yours, and I'll put it in my to be decided list. And when the country opens back up, you're going to come again, and you still have your order waiting for you, because you didn't have to offer that and you did. So now we're going to make sure the kid and you both get taken care of.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got Leo saying that she, anyway, not she, my apologies. But I got Leo saying that they saw the TM40. I'm just going to grab this real quick. So, Leo, just check this out. This is one of 15 limited. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the 40 on the back? Anyway, limited edition shocker.
Nice.
It's one of Caesar's Ultra Shockers. So, yeah. All right. Click that out. And we got a big shout out to HONU, hands down the best promoter in the game with the biggest heart. I vowed never to miss one of his events from here on out.
See, and to me, that's just awesome that the bond we got. I mean, I tag stuff all the time, best player family in the world, but that's not my idea. That's the players. The players are the ones that have taken ownership of our games, and you watch people come in and they are the ones that dictate the vibe of the game. I just kind of bring the game and make sure that everything's there for them to do it, and I try to work some fun and silly stuff in there for my own entertainment, and
of course,
have a good time. But the players themselves have taken such ownership of our games, and are continuing the direction that we started with them, because they seem to like it. I mean, there might be, a more high intensity game somewhere, or there might be a different style of game somewhere, but it seems like the players want our games to go with this. While we're on the field, we're absolutely going to go, dog eat dog attacking, but we are definitely going to be giving each other knuckles after a battle and laughing as we walk off together.
Right.
And it's just perfect to me. I think that's fantastic.
All right, Connor, just an answer to your question, because it says, do you let Australians play? We're pretty nuts. The answer to your question is all paintballers are nuts. Having traveled a fair amount, maybe not as much as this guy, but having traveled quite a bit, I can tell you that it doesn't matter where you go, paintballers are just nuts. Now, getting back more to what you were saying, Honey, one of the things that I really respect about you is you actually go out and you play. And
Oh
you don't
yeah.
just play your events, you play big games and whatnot at other events.
Oh yeah, not as much as I'd like to at this point.
None of
Just
us
because
play
of
as much as we'd
timing,
like to.
it was in the fine print. Like, here's this really, really cool job. However, it's going to take up a lot of your time. You're not going to get to go play. And even more fun is you get to design like these games that you would love to go play,
Right.
but you don't get to.
Right.
Little trick, just in case you weren't paying attention. So it's still awesome though, because I had to relearn that feeling. And it's funny because people will notice I always go watch the opening kickoff on Saturday. I'm always right there for the opening horn to watch it kind of kick off. And
Right.
people kind of tease me because I'm kind of up on the balls of my feet. I'm kind of bouncing, fingers are twitching. I get that same, like I'm about to go run into the field. And it took a little while for me to there was always that satisfaction of participating. And you're knee deep in it and you have a moment or you make a great move or whatever, or you even see somebody make a great move and you get to absorb some of that.
Right.
And it's fantastic. But as a producer, you're more worried about making sure that, everything's going and doing its stuff right like that. And so I had to find that satisfaction thing. And where I got that same joy from participating. And the thing now is it's like 100-fold better even, because as the players come towards you after final battle and they look like fighter pilots, they got the hands going as they're telling the story of this great move they just made, and they're walking towards you and they're just ear to ear grin, and not like smiling I'm happy, like the smile you can't get off your face. It's like just permanently fixed there because you're so in the moment and happy. Greatest thing in the whole wide world. I live for that every day. That's my favorite thing at events now.
Awesome. So I have a hard question for you. I got
Okay.
Rico, because this guy's awesome.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Like, is it like icon right there?
100%.
But he's got a question that you're the king of scenario games. Now, that's debatable on who you ask. I love you to death. I've never been to one of your scenario games. I've been to a lot of scenario games. But since you play other scenario games and you've been influenced by a lot of people, who would you say is your king of scenario games? Like, who would you nominate to be fantastic if it's not you?
Honestly, it's going to sound like a generic answer, but if you know me, I'm not kidding. I like going to everybody's game. And, Wayne Dalek's always going to be the king from history. He kind of invented what we do. But
Right.
I go to, I kind of grew up under the Viper games, did a lot of Viper games. Spent a lot of time talking with him, and even as a player after the fact, working with him, and we had a great relationship talking about games. And he's, an absolute legend of the sport in it.
Yes, he.
There's just no doubt that he paved the way for a lot of other producers to get involved, and he came down that same tree. It was like Wayne Dalek, then Viper, kind of down that route. And there's Red Feather, that's Chad out of the Midwest, and his games are really intricate when it comes to props and concepts, and a great guy. Known him since he was very young. And Mike Payroll, who actually was a teammate of mine on a team when he was producing games originally at Fort Knox. So it's very rare I've ever gone to a game and I haven't found something in the game that was fun. I have a pretty positive attitude towards things, but I love seeing what other people do. I love when another producer messages me and sees something I did in my game. He's like, I'm just telling you, I'm stealing it. Straight up stealing that from you. And it's kind of a little joke amongst each other, because we actually do more than people would ever believe. There's a lot of communication amongst producers.
Right.
You seeing something cool they got, and just giving the other producer respect. Like, look, it's not it's not an original idea that only you could do and it's trademarked or whatever. But before I do my version of it, because it was cool, I just want to, kind of get permission. And across the board, every producer I've ever run into so far has been very good about respecting each other's, intellectual property, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But more to the point, like they want the players to experience a great event, no matter whose event it is.
Right.
And, it's still business. We still compete with each other. I'm not pretending they don't, but it's definitely a much friendlier interaction than people probably would understand. Because we're such a small niche community as paintballers, let alone paintball producers.
Right.
So there's a lot of interacting with each other to give each other ideas, or may I use this? And what were you thinking when you came up with that? And, putting your own spin on it. Like I did Battleship at a game one time that you could earn hits by out on the field. And Ryan Sexton just told me straight, I was like, I'm stealing that. Like, I'm not even pretending I'm not. And it's not even stealing. It's please take it, do something with it. I bet you'll see somebody play dodgeball somewhere again because people liked it.
About a year ago, when I first met Mike Goodeve, who decided that he's going to retire.
Another great producer.
Well, he was a great producer.
Yeah.
He retired. But we were talking, him and I, and he's like, yeah, he goes, maybe you should, like, I was given ideas. He goes, maybe you should produce. And I was like, oh, I would love to produce. And I actually created this elaborate 3-team tier system. And maybe you and I can talk off air, because if I'm going to give it to anybody, I want to give it to you.
Awesome.
But maybe we can work together. I can be like get a little name like co-producer or something.
Nice.
We'll work for paint.
I mean, it's fun. The whole idea is to just have a good time with it. It was funny because my boss had come to Living Legends, Paulie Dagnino, and he hasn't been to a game in a couple of years just due to life and different stuff like that. And it was fun when he was there because, like, I think a lot of people think I own CPX events, and I don't. I work for Paulie.
Right.
And so it was kind of funny because a couple of my refs were like, you have a boss? I'm like, yeah, I got a boss. That's the boss. He, gives me a salary. Like all the money that comes in for the game. Yeah, I don't get that. That's not me. And if they pass the whole the thing in Congress and move it up to $15 minimum wage, I will be officially making minimum wage.
Yeah, I think
it's fantastic.
I think a lot of people don't realize that about you. And I'm just going to throw this out there because, I mean, there's been controversy, as you know, and we're not going to get into it. But a lot of people don't realize that there's some of the worst judgment call. Well, I shouldn't say worse, a bad choice of words. Some of the things that are attributed to you were not your call. Like you are an employee. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to pass the buck or things like that.
Understand.
But I'm just saying people need to realize that you do have a boss, and some of the more controversial moments in your paintball career were not your call. And I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there. We won't go into details because that's just not cool. But I just wanted to make sure, in case anybody's checking this out, that they realize like, oh yeah, and okay, this makes sense.
I have responsibility to it. My boss has given me the reins of the whole thing, and trusted me to run this part of his business ventures the way he would want it run. And, so I have responsibility there, and I have, I have a certain amount of, I can't take the positive feedback if I'm not willing to take the negative feedback.
Right.
And that's just a reality of it. And I don't shy away from it. I mean, nobody likes, negative feedback, but the reality is again, it goes back to that being honest thing. If you're going to, if you want to take, the little bow because things went really well, you got to be like, all right, like the air this past weekend. Almost everybody there, I would say, would agree that we all had a fantastic time, and it didn't keep them from enjoying their event. That being said, I have a responsibility to do better, and I certainly wasn't going to shy away and pretend like it didn't happen.
Right.
The air wasn't up to our speed and what we think is acceptable, and that's on me, and I'm going to make sure that it's fixed next time. Working with the field owner now already. Like, we literally are exchanging emails now for a game that's a year from now to make sure that we are ready when it happens again.
Cool. Now, Connor just keeps. I love Connor to death. Like you've got to meet him. So sometime later on, I'm gonna have to send you a link. I'm gonna get the two of you in the same room. You're gonna just laugh till you cry. Anyway, he's asking what your most fulfilling scenario you've run or been to. Like, what was?
They actually asked me about it in the Paintball magazine, Paintball Media, just the other day. John.
Yep.
It was Legends 10. I'd been doing the satellite games, the Dreaded Legends, Bones and Ashes, the other Legends games, but the main Legends game was produced by Viper for the first 9 years of it.
Right.
And then at Legends 10, during the contract negotiations that we did a yearly contract with him, and the numbers just weren't meeting on both sides, and he gracefully stepped away from the game and said that he was not going to be able to participate that year. And we had to go another direction. And basically sitting in the room with the boss kind of looked at me and was like, before I go looking around, you've been running these smaller games. Can you run Living Legends? Can you do it? And like any good, straight up looked him in the face and said, yes. And then went, I have no idea if I can do it. And I'm going to have to figure it out, to be honest, because, it matters. It's a big deal. So I'm like, yep, I can do it. Okay, then you're doing it. And then I walked out of the room. I'm like, great. But it ended up being really a great experience. It was fantastic. It allowed me to take the prestige that Living Legends is and take it for a run kind of thing.
Right.
So we created the Paintball Hall of Fame and interjected it into the game. We changed how the game had been run over the last few years and changed the overall concept of how to win or lose the game to kind of freshen it up. It's not that Viper's game wasn't perfectly fine, but I like to try to intermix some new stuff at least a little bit each time.
Right.
Something different like that. And so did that. We're having all kinds of fun. When it was just a crazy weekend, obviously, because it's my first one. And when it's all said and done and the entire weekend is over, we're doing the final battle on the famous CPX hill and everybody's doing their thing. And I'm just we're like half an hour away. If we get through this, it's good. It's done. We made it. Yay. Just that's all I was really looking for. And when it was all said and done, the final whistle goes and all the players go up to the hill to shake hands. That's a tradition at our Legends games, especially Living Legends itself.
Okay.
Started by the Godfather Sal of Paintball. And at the time, a very little known tattooed guy who was at his very first Living Legends event ever at Living Legends 1. Didn't know who any of these people were. And I was just up there kind of taking it all in before I walked away and went home that day. And this little guy in purple walked up and shook my hand and said, I hope you had a great day. And other players saw us do that, so they started doing it. And then it became a Living Legends tradition. So when that happens, we saw everybody go up to the hill, and I thought that was great. But for the first time ever, the players got in a big huddle with the bagpipe guy going, and they started chanting CPX, 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 while pumping their fists and their markers in the air. And unbeknownst to me, my wife, who was on the sideline, turned and looked over at the Dagnino family, the owners of CPX, who are all kind of in a group, and Dad, Ray, who is a very intense, wonderful guy, but very intense guy, looked at her and smiled and gave her a nod, and that was it. When she told me that story, I'm like, I passed a kind of an invisible threshold there into, there might be the opportunity to actually really do this for a living for the rest of my life. And then be successful at it.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, Andy just reminded me something. I believe it was Jennifer Montressor's birthday yesterday.
Yep.
Anyway, so if everyone wanted anybody, because Jennifer Montressor is actually watching right now, if everybody wants to wish her a happy birthday that's out there, because that lady's just awesome.
Yeah, I just found out she rides motorcycles, and she actually lives fairly close to me, so I'm going to have to try to see if we can meet up and go for a ride. That's like my favorite non-paintball thing to do.
And Connor says, thank you for telling us it's not a tradition. Andy says, I miss Sal. Did Sal pass away?
Yeah, Sal, a lot of people say I'm a pretty nice guy. If how I treat people and stuff is, a 10, Sal was 1,000. He was the nicest person I've ever met in paintball, and he absolutely is a personal mentor for me, because from that day we met there, throughout the rest of my paintball career until he passed away, he took a special interest in just me as a person. For whatever reason, we just kind of kept running into each other until we formed a nice friendship. And just a great mentor at making sure that how you treat people and interact with people and understand people, and not unlike Lonnie says, is like sometimes you're too nice. You got to make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. And Sal was very protective and looked out for me, and a very good mentor. And then he had gotten sick, and he passed away, and it was a big shock to everybody. But his son Tori is just fantastic. He runs the family field still in Illinois, St. Louis. What is it, St. Louis? Yeah, St. Louis area, and still comes to the games. And the first Hall of Fame class we had to, unfortunately, it was posthumously, but we were able to elect Sal into the Paintball Hall of Fame in the very first class.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh. By the way, for everybody that's wondering why I'm doing these randomly, is because we're actually broadcasting live on multiple platforms all at once.
Nice.
So if you're in one group in Facebook, you can't see what the other person is commenting on. And then if you're in YouTube, you can't see the comments, because each different group has its own chats. It's one of the weaknesses of this show. So what I try to do is when there's something relevant to the show, I try to make sure everybody gets to see the comment and make sure that all cross platforms share. Just for sake of interest for the people out there watching, not just for you, HONU, but talking to everybody.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was Jimmy the Sniper King.
Is he the Sniper King? Well, okay, so why is he called the Sniper King?
They actually call him Legend, like Chris Kyle Legend, because the dude his whole team is way into shooting first strikes, sniper style. Okay. So it's actually another thing that it was actually kind of him coming to me mentioning that he would like to see more sniper-based missions in games. So in all of my events now, I put some sort of sniper mission in there that's an all-day, kind of like a constant played mission. It doesn't have a time limit. Okay. And it's to let these guys with their first strikes that really are good snipers and really know how to use them, basically show off their talent. The goal is to give them the opportunity, because you've seen the debate. You don't want to play in the front, you don't want to do this. These guys aren't doing that. They'll play right up in the front. They go past the front. I put them in a position where they're taking sniper shots basically at the enemy base. Right. So, that's past the front. They're behind enemy lines, right, doing their thing. And I was interested to watch it happen, because when you watch what they do, there is a true skill level with some of these players with what they can do. Look, like millions of guys can shoot paintball guns, but there's a choice few that if they're pointing at you, you're out. Like, just because they haven't fired the ball yet is really just irrelevant. You're out. You just don't know it yet. And same thing with these sniper guys. It's just Hidden Hedgehog, guys like that. And Jimmy is the guy that I've seen. And 2 years in a row now, he's been the sniper champ at Bones and Ashes.
Nice.
Yeah.
You said he had a specific sniper team?
His team, Venom, a lot of the guys on his team, they came to Endless Legends, and it was an all-day mission for people on either side, whatever. And it really came down to just an in-house Venom competition of who was going to get the sniper trophy at that award. You go down the list, there was like maybe one or two people that weren't on Venom that were in the running for it, but then the rest of it was just Venom on a concise effort to not let Jimmy win again. Like, that was an ongoing joke. Like, I don't care who wins as long as it's not Jimmy. Just a little in-house messing with your buddy kind of thing. But it's fantastic that you can have these games inside the games. And that's the idea. That's what we do with them, is we try to create, like, everybody's playing the same game, but there's games inside the games that other players are playing right alongside you that you're not aware of it, whether it's missions or whatever. So
I'm curious. Mm-hmm. So if you got these snipers doing their thing, which is awesome, mm-hmm, how do they get? How do you score them? Like, how would you mm-hmm get, like, Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, Bones and Ashes, when they're not playing paintball games there and they're having private time, the owner and a lot of the people related to the field are ex-military.
Okay.
And so they actually will shoot real steel out on their field when it's safe to do that. And so they have metal man silhouettes.
Okay.
Same kind of things you'd have in a military range. So what we did is we put a man silhouette a little distance just outside the base to simulate being the game commander for that side.
Okay.
And then what we do is you snipe it with a first strike round. The ref, then you call yourself out and go claim it. And go tell the ref, hey, I shot that. My name is such. The ref writes your name down. Then you have to go reinsert and you have to check in with the ref at the other base. That way I know for a fact that you didn't just kind of go tuck back in the woods halfway back and come right back around. I know you checked all the way in at the far end. So if you come back and work your way all the way in there again and shoot it, I know you've done all the work over again. You literally started from scratch again.
Right.
Whoever does that the most in the game wins the top sniper.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's a very unique thing. They have to get through the field, which doesn't have, it's a big enough field that doesn't have like just a lock solid 50-yard line. But there's a lot of people on the other side of that field that's going to shoot at you, trying to keep you from getting where you want to go. And yet repeatedly works their way through it somehow alive. And we don't have medics in our game. So it's not like they get shot and get healed and then sneak away. They have to do the whole run to get there, get in a position, take that shot, and do it. And last year they were so good at it that this year we put a piece of tape on the silhouette and it only counted if it was a headshot because they're skill proof. So I had to improve the challenge. They did really good this year too. So I think I'm going to end up with like an index card or something, on the face of the thing. If it doesn't hit the card, it doesn't count. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but every year I think I challenge them or other players with the missions or the different things I write. And then every year the players step up their game to that challenge, which is fantastic. I hate gimme missions and that kind of stuff. And anybody that does one of my games will understand there's a heavy frustration level when you're reading some of my missions and there's just no way we're going to do that. But then you get the satisfaction of we did do it, and you get to watch that emotional roller coaster of them. There's no way. And then they get it. And the adulation of that completing that is fantastic. And
it sounds like Jimmy just says challenge accepted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's not going to shy away from anything. I can tell him he had to hit a quarter up there and he'd be like, all right, which edge? He's just that guy, and his friends would be out there trying to do it too.
Well, I know, I haven't used a first strike yet. I'm intrigued. I know that back in 1998, I think it was 98, I went up to a big game outside of Ottawa, and I can't remember the field. I just can't. And our big game in Ottawa at the time was 400 people. So that was a Canadian big game. And I know that I was using my tournament autococker, which was just tits.
Yep.
I belly crawled through raspberry bushes to get up and around just because everybody was saying, well, tournament players can't play, and I started in 89. I can do it.
Right.
So so I went around, and because I had the firepower of the autococker at the time, I took out the whole base and I held it for 40 minutes.
Perfect.
I was out of air, out of paint. It was just like, base is yours, guys.
Just trying to look scary now. I got nothing. Yeah, and that's another part of it. To give you the idea of the level of the, a lot of times we're traveling to these things. It takes a while to get there. So you got a lot of time for deep thoughts,
Right.
And one of the things is there's a certain amount of players at the game that don't necessarily enjoy getting hit with first strikes. I don't know if it's that there's a little more density behind them because of the fin or whatever, but there's some people that think they hit a little harder or whatever. And so by introducing the sniper mission, I give my snipers exactly what they want to do, which is to show off their skill. And I give them enough point value for it that there's not a lot of benefit for them to just start sniping players if they don't have to, because they can score. Sniping players is a means to an end.
Right.
Getting to that target and hitting it is worth enough points that they're not directly aiming at players as their main goal, because there's no points in it. They do it if they need to. And if it's, important to the mission they're on, but
Right.
I probably reduce the shots of first strikes on players themselves by 25 or 30% by having them go play this. So we can have first strikes in the game, so these players get to enjoy that aspect of the game, but the players that don't get enjoyed getting hit by them don't get hit by them as often.
Right.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, because I would think that being with a first hunting, I shouldn't say hunting, playing with a first strike rounds. While I mean, I'm sure there's a certain amount of exuberation to it, but having to get from one end of the field to the other, use your skills, and then have that like that I'm intrigued. I got to be honest with you. I'm too fat, too old, and too slow. But in my head, my brain's going, okay, time to get a first strike gun, time to get some first strike rounds, try to practice. Let's do this, because that really sounds like a challenge that I would have.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I still might.
I joke about it all the time. I'm with you. When I was younger, I used to sneak around because paint was really expensive. It was like 120 a case when I first started playing, and so, you know, Lonnie, we were poor as hell as, you know, a young couple. So Lonnie's like, okay, here's a case. It's got to last you the whole month. So I was real particular about my shots on a Sunday when I'd go play. Now I joke, if I'm on the ground, you should call somebody. I probably hurt myself. So I play behind my gun at this point. Somebody commented about the water glow sticks. We had a Friday night mission, since the game's based on finding this radioactive ore, where we took a bunch of glow sticks and we put them out on the field, and we make you go find them Friday night as a non-paintball mission. Whoever finds the most gets side choice for Saturday. And last year they returned like 190 out of 200 of them. So I told my guys that did it this year, the Char, the third faction, I had them seed the field and tell them, I'm like, make it harder. And people were jumping in like, you know, knee deep, waist deep water to get one. They put one in a bottle and then threw it in a pond, and they went in after it. So it just shows how the level our players are when it comes to just getting totally absorbed into things and having fun with it. So such a good attitude and laughing about it and getting what we're doing. We're just, you know, don't take yourself too seriously. It's just paintball.
which actually, that brings me back to Bones and Ashes when you did the dodgeball. Yep. I meant to ask you, and I completely forgot. Did you actually have those old school rubber balls with textures that have that?
Oh, yeah, the red rubber ball, the one that makes that ping sound when it hits you. That's the only way we're doing it. Like if we're going to do something like that, we're not going to go out there and like, here's the little Nerf ball and here's that. This is the red rubber ball dodgeball. Everybody understand what you're agreeing to. And go out there. Guys made like T-shirts from like that dodgeball movie or whatever.
Right.
One whole team made like their own personal T-shirts like that, and they had the little like kind of red shorter shorts and the whole thing. They totally got into it, and that's what I love. That we had two guys dressed as Mario and Luigi. Like the things the players come up with are fascinating to me. I met the Command Bros because the T-shirt he had their original logo with the huge fro on the skull in front of the guy. And it wasn't just a huge fro that drew my attention. It's the fact that he actually went to the effort to have the pick in the fro. Yeah. And I'm like, stopped. I was in my golf cart. I drove right past him. I stopped. I backed up. I'm like, hang on. I'm like, you actually have the pick in the fro? I'm like, dude, that's epic. Like, next level, silliness, fun. Don't take it too seriously. You know,
those guys are hilarious, aren't they?
They're a riot. They're an absolute riot. I love all of our paintball personalities, Wolf and Barney and Reaper and all that. I just think everybody finds their niche. You know what I mean? That's their thing. I know people that come to the game and still, you know, I wear shorts and like a tank top and my slippers when I play half the time.
Tactical sandals. Yep.
Yeah. I'm old and fat and it gets hot and I'm comfortable in that. Other people, you know, full on, you know, like Wolf wears the whole full everything he's got. And he's getting to enjoy his weekend the same way I do. Yep. And that's just awesome.
Yo, I totally agree. I met the Command Bros at World Cup a few months back. And they were a riot. My only regret is I didn't get to spend more time with them because they had me laughing.
Yeah, they're great.
They were doing their thing. And
yeah, I really like spending time with them. They're great. I even met Mom. Their mom is fantastic.
Okay,
You want to talk about somebody that has a no BS meter, no matter what the topic is. Mom will tell you exactly what it's all about, man. Auntie doesn't play. She's awesome. And she just got such a great sense of humor about it too when she comes and talks to all of us. She's been on their show a couple times with us, and I mean, she straight up comes in and like just, all right, guys, now you're gonna get it.
So is it their actual mother or is it just a friend? Like,
no, Ma.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mom jumps in and she's awesome. She actually like helps run or runs herself specifically with help a community garden to feed needy people in the neighborhood and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's just fantastic for what she does, and she's just out there, you know, making a difference in the world and keeping all those crazy boys in her life in line. She got quite a tribe there with her, and she definitely is in charge.
I know very little about their background history, I'll be honest.
Oh.
Like I met them. I think they're cool. I don't get a chance to watch the show much. It's Wednesday at noon, like at lunchtime for us. Yep. So I don't get to see it much, and I really haven't watched as much as I should. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's awesome.
That's my favorite part, though, is getting to know the people that were around. I mean, you get to know their lives. That's how I met Rico. We never met. Him and I never met. When he had his car accident, I just decided to check in on him, and we hadn't even known each other. It was one of those things that, you know, a paintballer and an important one. I had no idea how important he was to the sport and the history of the sport. I just knew a guy had gotten hurt, and, you know, I kind of checked in with him, like, you know, if there's ever anything we can do, me, myself, or CPX for you, let us know. And we actually kind of built a friendship off of just kind of started to talk like that. The first time I talked to Rocky, I talked to him about tattoos because he had really cool, like, Polynesian style tattoos like mine. And we got into this whole discussion. I walked away and my friends were all freaked out. They're like, you know, do you know who that is? I'm like, nope. Like, well, that's Rocky. I'm like, cool. Who's Rocky? Rocky Cagnoni. Nope, still nothing. Got nothing. Nobody tried to tell me. And then they kind of told me, and I'm like, oh, you know, like you have this moment of like, whoops. Like, I feel like I need to go back and like, yeah, like you said, like, oh, I'm sorry, sir, you know, kind of thing now. And
yeah, he'd punch you though if you did the whole.
Oh my God,
he can't stand that. He's just one of the greatest guys and one of the nicest players. And
100%.
Like I met him at the first Skyball. Actually, I think I met him before that in Montreal, but doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
totally chill cat. I love hanging out with him. Him and I have great times. I actually gave him my old motorcycle because his kept breaking down.
I saw that on Facebook. Yeah.
His kept breaking down, and I want to go for more rides, and I want my friends to go with me. So I'm like, you know what? Here, you take it. It works. Do something with it. If you ever decide you want to sell it, just don't sell it. Just pay it forward to somebody else, and you know, let's do that. And you know, knowing Rocky, that's, you know, there was no question. That's exactly how he's going to do it.
Right. Yeah. No, he's awesome. I wish I could talk to him more. I can't call him a close friend. I can't, but
if you know him, you are a close friend with him. He's just that guy.
Yeah.
He just really got that personality. He just kind of draws you into him because he's just so chill.
Like you.
Well, I don't know if I'm quite as cool as Rocky, but we'll let Rocky be the cool one. I'll be Rocky's buddy.
Rocky is an original.
Oh yeah.
When God made him, they destroyed the mold. Somehow some of it grew back, and we have the man himself. No, I love that guy.
Yeah.
So,
no, there you go. Jimmy just told that he didn't realize that's what I was doing, but he's like, I only fired one mag at anybody in the game.
Yeah.
The rest of it was at the thing. So it worked.
Somebody told me recently, speaking of first strikes, is that they're an invention by Tom Kay. And that Tom Kay invented him for his military stuff. And then he transferred he did his thing with it, but it was for his military training contracts and stuff, like with the old sidearm and stuff like that. But he developed the first strike concept. Now, I don't have all the details, so everybody out there, please don't hang me or lynch me if I'm wrong.
It wouldn't surprise me.
This is just something that I heard recently, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I'm meaning to research it, get to the bottom of it, because that's what I do. That's what my show is about, is obviously finding cool stories, finding
Right.
cool people, and just, but yeah, so
I wouldn't let him in my base one year when I was commanding Living Legends, when I was my first command, because I had heard rumors about he was the most famous guy at dropping bases ever. And I knew he was at the game as a legend there, and it was my first command ever. And he arrived at my base saying, "Oh, hey, I'm on your side. Let me come in and get, taped up." And I had a nice little perimeter on my base, because to destroy your base, they just have to put their foot inside and say, all dead. And I'm like, let me see your player card. And he's like, "Oh, I left it in camp. I'm not doing it." I'm like, "Then you're not getting near my base." And this kid that was with me, that was on my team, was just mortified. He's like, "Do you know who this is?" I'm like, yes.
know exactly
why I'm not letting near my base is because I know who this is. There's no way. And we went back debating. I'm like, "Look, if I'm wrong, I'll owe you a rum drink when we get off the field. But if I'm right, there's no way you're getting near it." And eventually it became down. He kind of gave up and he shook my hand. He's like, very good job, Commander. And off he went to go get his thing. And he is, to this day, refused to tell me if he was ever on my team or not, because he never came back. So I have no idea. And he refuses to tell me, which is fantastic, actually.
That's
I'm going to wonder the rest of my life whether I was right or wrong, and he knows it. And I think he has a fun little pleasure in that.
I've talked to Tom a few times, not in person, but on the phone and whatnot, about various things, and possibly be on the show.
Right.
And someday he'll be on. Like, it's just the cards haven't aligned. He's been doing, actually, you know what? He was on the show with Fred Schultz and I. We had Fred Schultz at the Christmas special. So that's not my show, though. That was a joint effort between Fred and I. I can't claim that's not my show. That was our show. But
yeah, when I first met Freddie through the internet, he didn't know who I was, and so he kind of like did a background check on me by checking other paintballers to see if I was like an okay guy or not. And I'm like, "Ask your friends. I'm pretty harmless."
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of funny though that like
he was talking to me first, like, "Who is this guy?" I'm like, "He's legit." Ask around.
Yeah, it was funny. Our first conversation to our next conversation was much different. He's like, "All right, I talked to so and so, and I talked to so and so, and Danny says you're okay." And it was kind of a funny conversation.
That was the big thing. Dan Colby has so many great things to say about you. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, Dan Colby is the man behind Immortal Air and previously Air America and other stuff. But
yeah, I'm really lucky to be able to have met him and have him be one of my friends. Dan's just a fantastic guy and so down to earth, I think we initially bonded over playing sleeveless. Like, seriously, like that's how the conversation started.
Tracy says, "Fred loves you, but he loves your son more." I don't know if I've met your son.
They're not really into paintball, but they will be. My one son that lives down here with me, almost every time we're on one of the live feeds, it comes in to give me a hug because he's going to bed.
Okay.
So he's 18 years old. He still gives me a hug every morning when he wakes up, every night when he goes to bed. And I think that's awesome. I hope he never outgrows it.
Right.
So that's just a dad thing.
Yeah. Hey, my son's 11. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I love my son so much. Except my son likes paintball. He's never actually played it yet because he was just getting to the age where he could. Right. And then COVID happened, and
mine played for a little bit, nothing too crazy. But he was a kid that would come, play 3 or 4 games, have a good time, and then he'd go, find a dog to pet or something. Like he's a lot like me. So what you see at the game, I'm much more focused than when I'm like at a game, just playing a game or my general life. I'm definitely look, a bunny and I may wander. Lonnie literally says she likes to walk like a step behind me because she loses me less often then. Because if I'm a step behind her, I just disappear. She'll turn around and I'm not there. Because I just wander off. Yeah. And she's like, "I like keeping you where I can see you because it's easier to keep you kind of on track."
We should get you a HONU leash.
Oh, seriously, I need like a bell or
like
something,
one of those
man.
Those backpacks with like a slinky,
right? Yeah, like big turtle on it with like a leash. Yeah,
a turtle on a leash.
That's just it, man. Seriously.
Okay, so you need to make that. You need to make a turtle T-shirt, like just your own little marketing thing.
Dude, that's something that people do, and they've been doing it for years, and it's just crazy fun and really humbling that people think about it. People go and find all this cool turtle stuff,
Right.
whatever it may be. Somebody bought me like a sushi spoon because it had a turtle on it.
I don't know
It
what a
just
sushi spoon is.
I don't know what it is either. It's apparently some sort of rice spoon that's very specific to the process of making sushi, but it happened to have a turtle on it. And they'll like send me a picture. One guy sent me a picture. He's in like Okinawa, and they had Ohana beer, and sent me a picture of that, or HONU this, or HONU that, or just little turtle figurines and stuff like that. It's like it. It's very humbling to think that somebody out of the blue with whatever they were doing in their day, like, oh, cool turtle. You know who would like that and get it for you. I mean, it's just crazy cool that they do it, but it's so kind of wild that it happens, you know.
Yeah, I get it. I've the things that I've gotten as from this show, like I've been like I don't talk about everything on air because some stuff gifts are just for me and I leave it at that. But I was talking about how I was looking for old JT cargo playing pants, right? And one of my friends, but one of my viewers, listeners, I have a hard time with this, to be honest with you and me. Like I like this intimate conversation, and I've got, obviously, as you can see on the chat, there's like a whole lot of other conversation going as well. And I consider everybody friends. But so one guy reached out to me, goes, well, listen, I've got a brand new pair of race paintball pants or raised paintball pants. Do you want them? I'm like, yeah, sure, but I can't really afford to buy vintage paintball pants. He goes, oh no, they're brand new, still got the label on them, all of that. And I'm like, you can have them.
Dude, it's our community. I don't wear pants when I play, so I would do the same thing. I'd gift the pants that I'd get for my sponsorships. I'd always get a couple pair of pants and stuff, and I'm like, I don't wear pants, and I don't wear like, you know, the tops that come with it, and it's just such standardized stuff that are part of those packages that I'm like, that's great, I appreciate it. And you know, you never want to be like, no, I don't want those because, you know, you give me something, you know, to sponsor you, and you don't want to be like rude about it because it's amazing that they're doing it. So I just paid it forward. I just would give somebody like, hey, I know this guy needs pants, so I tell him I need, if you're gonna give me the pants, I'd ask for like different sizes than I needed, because I knew they were gonna just pass them right through. Because my theory is, if I don't own paintball pants, you can't make me play in the cold. See, that's my theory. If I can't, I can't play, man. It's too cold. I don't have pants. I can't play. So that's not an accident. I'm not a fan of the cold. Except Hoth game up at Blast Camp. That was different because that was a fun game, and Virgil's awesome. Well, yeah, the field owner is just an awesome guy, and it's a fun game.
And Star Wars.
Yeah. Get your Star Wars nerd on. I'm in.
Exactly.
We're old enough to have seen Star Wars
in the theaters when it first came out.
Yeah, I saw it when I was 7 years old, man.
Same.
Yep. Well, we're the same age.
How old? When's your birthday?
December 28th. This past one, I turned 50.
Oh, okay. Well, I turned 51 on Monday.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So yeah, we're in the same
age
apart.
now.
Yeah.
Give me a week.
Right?
Catch up.
Yeah. So it's that same time frame. I started in 89. You started in 89. And, you know, it's just, it's fun, man. I first came into it. A buddy showed me it. And I'm like, this is the greatest idea I've ever seen anybody when it came to a sport. Because we used to hunt each other with the BB guns, which is a terrible idea. So don't do it.
Don't do it out there.
Yeah, like no eye protection. We throw our winter coats on. You know, that was our idea of protecting ourselves. And, you know, it's a 3-pump rule. And you can just see your buddy cranking the gun up. Yeah, 3 pumps, all right. And, you know, you'd hit the sleeve of your like down coat, and all of a sudden a big puff of feathers came out, and you're digging BBs out of your arms and stuff at the end of the day. And then he showed me this. And the first time I played, we were with this big group of people, and we all, you know, the rental guns at the time were very, very basic. They weren't even like Tippmann rental guns. And I just got it. Like, it was one of those things like, I kept getting behind everybody and shooting them in the back. Like I'd be behind enemy lines, like shooting them. And I'm like, this is the coolest game ever. Like the timing of it. I could pick the paint up pretty good when it was in the air, so I could kind of head check. I didn't always have to stay hidden. My wife likes to say, I never get shot, but everybody around me does. I get other people shot because if they try to go with me, I'm like a paint magnet, but I have like my own little force field. So as it gets close to me, it kind of veers off and hits other people. Yeah. We had my friend Tim and I were going towards this flag at the Siege Paintball in Wisconsin for a fun little game. And they had like a PVC pipe you had to hang, stuff the flag stick in. And it was on the ground. And if we get that, it was one of those ones that pretty much would help change the game, whether we'd win or lose.
Right.
He's got a pump gun. I've got, my axe, so I can basically be, full on sending paint. He's got a basic pump gun. And Tim says, there's the flag. We got to go for it. Cover me. And what I heard was run for the flag. So I
heard go for it.
Yeah, I just quit we need to get it. So I just left at that point. So as he's saying, cover me, I'm like, great, cover me. And off I went. So he's pumping and he said that he could see me. And as I'm fumbling with it, like I'm trying to like put a key in a lock in the dark kind of thing, trying to get the damn thing to go in there. And it probably took 3 seconds to do it. But in the moment, it felt like, a full 2 or 3 minutes of just get in the damn stick. Come on. I'm going to die any second now. And he's like, I could watch the paint just veer off as it got to you. He's like, it was the craziest thing ever.
It was like Kurt Russell in Tombstone. No.
Yeah. And he like pulls me aside and he's like, let's go over the concept. When I say cover me, that doesn't mean run.
Run.
I gotcha. All right, my man, I got you. So it's just fun.
What was the first paintball gun you used in '89?
Oh,
you said you were using a rental.
I was using somebody else's. It was a pump gun. It wasn't a PGP pump, but it was some sort of pump gun. It was a little longer.
Tube in the back?
Tube on the top. It was like a PGP, but it had like the top. It seemed like it was like a second barrel on the top with paint in it.
Right.
And that's how you loaded it kind of thing. And it had the CO2 in the handle. And like your first 2 shots were fantastic. And then they kind of petered off from there.
Did the grip come off to take the 12 gram out?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Nell
popped off.
The Nell Spot?
That must have been it.
Nell Spot 007? Yeah.
And I'm such a bad old guy at paintball. I love the new technology. I love the fact that the guns do what they do. I appreciate guys that want to go out there pumps and get out their old school guns and that kind of stuff. But when I first found an auto mag, I'm like, all right, I'm listening. And my axes, I've been well known for, I just love the axe platform. I can drop it, which has happened. I can slam it into a tree, which has happened. I can drop it into a snowbank where you have to like go in after it. And it always works. And I don't have to be all that smart actually to, if I can't fix it, now we're talking the computer part. And then I bring it to like, Rufus or to like Ross Jones. And I'm like, all right, yeah. I really broke it this time. And, 10 minutes later, Ross is handed back to me. And with the kind of look on my face, like, I don't even know how you did that. Like, it was broken away that shouldn't break. Like, how'd you do it?
He probably just grabbed a different gun.
He has absolutely bailed me out a bunch of times on I don't know what you did to this thing, but yes, I'll get it working somehow. And Rufus is another one that's been fantastic at that.
I have to get Ross my son's invert mini.
Okay.
I got it for $50 in a box in pieces. Like, okay, just I put it back together and whatnot, and it had the old school valve.
Right.
So you had remember how they used to have the original cup seal had the brass on it, and they switched it around to the new cup seal style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, there was a lot of problems with the very first run of the inverts, and then they kind of fixed what was going wrong with it, and then they became a fantastic platform.
Right. And yeah, well, I have one of the very first run, this green one, and I've still got just a slight leak out the barrel.
Right.
And so it's a cup seal thing, and I don't care what I shouldn't say I don't care what I gotta pay, but I want, like, Corden loves that little green axe, and mini. My apologies.
Right. I call it an axe too.
Pardon?
Yeah. I do the same thing. They're all axes to me. They're all the axe platform. They're just
Right.
different sizes.
Yeah.
Like the new 6. Like, it's funny because whenever I get a new one, the first thing I do is I call Ross and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, what are the tricks? What do I do? What are the settings? What are this? What are this? And he walks it through, and dumbs it down a lot for me, which helps. And, we get it together and it's fantastic.
Did you get one of the new 6s?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I got the 1.0, the original one, and then sent it in and they put the upgrades on it. It's definitely different. Like, it sounds silly, but it takes me probably 4 or 5 games to dial in a new marker, even though it's the same platform.
Right.
Just the muscle memory mechanics of it, even though it's very close to the other one you just got done using, it still is different.
Yes.
And to dial it in where it's, point and shoot, and you hit what you're aiming at for the most part. And that's the years of playing. You have an expectation of what you can do with a marker.
Yes.
Especially a marker that you're used to. I've had friends that, like, if I have my axe, this one guy, I don't know how I always do it, but I dot him right on the forehead every time. And he actually puts an extra headband on when we used to play at CPX if I use the certain one of my axes, because he's like, every time you play with it, I get shot in the forehead. And it was just kind of became a joke. But I like the new 6. I'm still getting used to it personally. I wish it beeped when you turned it on and off, because I got old eyes and I play in the sun, so I can't really see the screen when it goes on and off. So I have a lot of, I think it's off, and then I kind of get close to the ground and pull the trigger once to see if it goes off. Okay, it's off. And then I turn it on and kind of, is it on? Click. Yep, it's on, and that kind of thing. But that's just a personal thing. From a firing standpoint, it's really good with the air. I think I love the direction they go with it and still staying true to heart.
Right.
They seem to be addressing a lot of the different little problems that people had. I mean, I love the first axe. So every new version of it, or the mini or whatever, as they go from there, is just they just seem to keep improving little steps along the way. And, I haven't seen them like regress, I guess would be a good way to say it. I haven't seen like that horrible, oh, I don't know what you were thinking there. You kind of went backwards with that one. So it's fun.
I'm guessing that it says Facebook user. I'm guessing that's Jennifer Montresor. So good night, Jen.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. And happy birthday.
Yep.
Getting back to the difference in paintball guns. I know that the way my autococker used to shoot back in the 90s, and then coming back to paintball with the new paint and stuff, the paint just flies different. Like it doesn't it doesn't feel the same, doesn't shoot the same, even when I'm bore sizing and whatnot. But even that aside, even if I've found that different paintball guns have different personalities, you could have two identical axes and they'd still shoot different. And that's nothing against axe or GI Sports or Core Outdoors, which is what I guess what it is now.
Yep.
But it's just every manufacturer. Like, you can have two identical guns and you've got to set them up, tweak them, just get them to the way you want. Unless you're shooting a Tippmann and they all just shoot the same.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. Like, I swear, I like poppets better than spoolies, and I don't have any science behind it. When I shoot spoolies, I swear the ball goes straighter, but then seems to have like just a fall off the cliff kind of moment. I have no evidence to prove this is the case. It's just how I feel like when I shoot it.
Right.
And then the axes, I don't think shoot on such a straight plane as far, but I can angle it a little bit more and kind of still get it out there a little bit. And I can play that kind of angled toss with the ball out there, because went down that, auto mag into the axes. It was a natural kind of flow that way. Yep. Like, I've never owned an autococker. I have never fired an autococker. And I try to keep that kind of low when I'm around Bud Orr, because I don't want him to be like, seriously, dude, really? You haven't even fired one? And it's so funny because I love what they look like. They're art. more than just about any other marker I've ever seen. Because, like, the old mags was here's this beautiful gun, and then look what we did with this braided hose all different directions, and you can't
the
switch to
big
your left
coil
hand.
wrapping it.
Yeah, you can only shoot it right-handed because there's a coil that goes over the grip on the other side. So all this kind of stuff, how it was, but they're absolutely a work of art. But I just have never really played with one or done one. You see, it's weird how you kind of fall down those family trees and you kind of stay loyal to that.
I'll flat out tell you, but like, you've never fired both. I've owned both, like automags and autocockers, and I tend to be more of an autococker fan. But I can't really see it. But that's my latest mag right there, right? I've owned about 3 mags in my life. That's the only one I own right now, and I've probably owned 100 plus autocockers that I'd buy and sell.
Just right.
So my allegiances lie this way. I'm an autococker guy, not a mag guy, but I love mags. But I'll tell you, at least back in the day, when you were talking about the velocity, that's exactly how I felt about autocockers versus automags. Now, experts will tell me the paintball flies at the same speed, and like, I'm sure you've heard the argument a million times. You've been in the thing in paintball long enough. But I'll tell you, mags tended to for me, they tended to lob a little bit more. Right. So they weren't so long, but they had a very consistent lob that you got to use to. But when you pulled an autococker out, they just flat, like, especially when you had it timed right, it just, man, I wish this was 3D.
Right, that would be good. I'd be like dodging.
Sorry, I'm having fun. Squirrel.
No worries, I'm there, man.
But with the autococker, they just seem to be ball on ball, and that's when the Shocker 4x4s came out at the spool. They have that same kind of trajectory, so it wouldn't surprise me if what you're saying is true between poppet and spool. I don't have enough experience. I know that I haven't really shot the invert mini that much because like it's leaking, so it was only test firing. And I was shooting the Planet Eclipse Etha 1. I got a purple one of those. I love that gun. Like, I got it at a pawn shop for like $100 with a Steely tank and a Halo 2 loader. It wasn't shooting the best, but I didn't have the bore size properly.
Right.
And there was D10 issues. That's my only beef with it. I hate the little Planet Eclipse rubber D10s. Those annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Planet Eclipse, if you're listening, switch over to a ball bearing D10, please and thank you.
Those are the things. I mean, it's amazing how much you can get into a preference towards something, and I don't know if it's because we're older and we just found something we like and that kind of stuff. I mean, I love seeing all the new tech and everything that everybody does, and I've kind of hit that sweet spot between. I don't really like. One of the things that I thought was really fun is Dan Colby being Dan Colby. We were talking about him earlier and what a great guy he is.
Oh yeah,
Danny is in the same boat as me. I don't have a lot of extra markers around. Like, I don't have markers kind of along the generations because I give them away to people.
Right.
Somebody needs a gun, I give them one. And Danny did the same thing. He didn't own a single paintball marker, and I kept bugging him like, come on and play with me. You just kind of goof off. And he kind of was like almost embarrassed about it. He's like, I don't own a marker. And I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. I'll get you a marker. So I gave him one of my markers.
Right.
One of my.
He loves that thing.
Right.
Loves it.
I didn't realize that it was going to mean that much to him. I was just being nice and letting him have one of my markers. But he really does, it's a special one to him, I guess, which is nice that, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he kind of joked that he's like, I feel like I'm cheating when I play. He's like, because it's so efficient and it works so well. He's like, and you don't have to work on it. He's like, I don't feel like it's the same skill level I used to have to go out here and compete because it just, runs like a machine gun. He's like, this is fantastic. So, and it was the day I gave him, we had this great moment. We had this 10-year-old, first time playing ever. We had him all decked out, had the full helmet style on him so he'd be safe. And somebody captured a picture of us in CPX in Armageddon in the exploded looking town next to Bedlam. And there's a picture where this kid is straight in there firing his, his rental gun, and he's got me over one shoulder and he's got Dan Colby over the other, kind of protecting him with
Making
our
it rain.
guns. Yeah. And his dad got the picture printed out, and he's like, he's not going to know why this is cool today, but someday he's going to really know that this is a pretty neat picture.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
I wonder what happened. I wonder, you don't have contact with those people anymore, do you?
The kid, no. They were just players that came out to the field that day, kind of thing. We're kind of like CPX locals. Did you see the picture from Bones and Ashes of our friend Alex?
No.
At Living Legends 10, we were contacted by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. But
keep telling the story.
Yeah, he wanted to come out and play and that. So, of course, we took all care of him, and I contacted Ryan Sexton, who was working with GI at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, look, here's the deal. I got a kid coming out, Make-A-Wish kid. Can you do something? He's like, you bring the boy to me, and we're going to take him on a shopping spree. He's going to have a blast.
Right.
Great. So we have some people in our sport that would maybe use that opportunity of a Make-A-Wish kid to maybe self-promote, for lack of a way of better saying it, and we'll leave it at that. So I decided the best thing to do for Alex to make sure he got the best experience is we didn't tell anybody that he was coming to the game. There was about 4 people that knew he was a Make-A-Wish kid. I was running the game, so I connected him with my teammates and just told him, like, hey, this is a friend of mine's kid. Take care of him, look out for him. And they, took care of him like he was their own kid kind of thing. Spent the whole weekend there and all that. They took him into the Empire Tank and Empire GI vending area. And Ryan's just like, walked him over to the gun rack, pick. Walked him over to the mask rack, pick. And pick over to the hoppers, pick. And just let the kid throw together a whole package. And I hadn't heard anything from him since that event, other than we got a card from Make-A-Wish thanking everybody at CPX and for doing what we did, which was really nice of them. And that was kind of the end of it. And he walked up to me this weekend with just a big grin on his face, smiling at me, and was like, do you remember me? And I'm looking at him, I'm like, holy shit, Alex, right? Like, that's you? He was a player before he got sick, and Legends was kind of his first real big game back, and he's been playing ever since.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. And he's more importantly, he's healthy. Everything's going good that way for him. So, it's a fantastic thing that we were able to be part of it. And it's even cooler to see a couple of years later now that, he's in great shape. He's feeling great. He's having a great time. He's playing with a great team. And he's just enjoying the sport again. So that's so cool.
Gee, I wish somebody had emailed me the picture so I could have gone, plap.
All right, for those point. You did ask. Not for that specific. You said ask for some pictures, but see, the problem was I wouldn't know what to send you because how our conversations go. You're like, so what's new? And then an hour and a half later, we're talking about squirrels.
Oh, I totally get it.
Anybody that hangs out with us should know that that's just kind of how that works.
Oh, hey, anybody that watches my show knows that I try to stay on paintball related content as much as I can, because I really don't enjoy when I turn into a paintball podcast and they're not talking about paintball, because I'm a paintball player and I want to talk about paintball. So I try, but that doesn't mean you can stay on point all the time.
No, and I'm definitely not helpful for that. Yeah, the way my brain works, we could get off on some weird topics just for the fun of it.
No, absolutely.
We could have a whole conversation about rum drinks. You never know. And why slippers are clearly the best footwear ever invented.
No, the only decent endorsement for slippers is you and Jesus. Other than that,
I got Wolf to wear them at Ion one time on like a dare. I told him I'm going to buy him a pair, and he's like, "No, you won't." And I absolutely decided I got him a pair. And I mean, he's one of those guys that just can't stand the whole like little where you put your feet in the little part that goes between your toes.
Right.
That just kind of creeps people out. Some people, they just can't stand it.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys. He's like, look, I can't stand that. I'm like, come on, just one time. You got to put him on so we can do a picture. And it just shows what a good sport he can be is he's like, all right, for you, because we're friends. And he put him on, he kicks his boots off, puts them on, we get a picture together. And I mean, definitely didn't have to do it. You know what I
No.
mean? He could be like, look, dude, I'm not doing it. And you have every right not to do it. But that just shows, you know, sometimes he's so into the game and so focused that people don't realize at times that, you know, he can be just about as silly as the rest of us, you know, in certain situations kind of thing. And it was really fun. It was fun that he, you know, took a moment and just had that part. And it was a great time for both of us.
All right. So,
yep.
On that vein, I hate flip-flops. I hate them with a passion. Can't stand them. But we get on the same field. You buy me a pair of flip-flops that will fit me.
Okay.
I'm a 10.5, so 10 or 11.
I can do that.
I don't care how silly, fluffy, girly, whatever. You find the most obnoxious pair of flip-flops you can find. I will wear them for a picture with you.
Okay.
Just saying.
I'm gonna say, don't take them out and go play paintball with them because that.
No.
Yeah, I mean that takes a little decision making on your part to do that. You gotta be really used to walking them, or you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah, but no, I will not. I will wear them for the picture.
Okay.
I won't walk around in them, but I will wear them for the picture, and then I'll hang them up right behind the Millennium Falcon. All right,
that's the deal.
So I mean, I don't care if they're pink with big flowers on them, and just like you find the nastiest ones you can find, I'll wear them for a picture, and I'll put them on my wall.
We had that with Nate and Eric, the owners of Black Ops Paintball. They own Black Ops in Fayetteville and also Black Ops in Myrtle Beach, where we do the dreaded game.
Right.
And we had this completely silly, fun weekend where we have this tradition where we always go out to dinner together afterwards and get like hibachi.
Right.
Because, you know, I mean, even eating hibachi and the whole show is just silly fun. So it's always a good time we do it. And we somehow got on this whole kick about me moving to Florida, and I wanted to get this like ridiculously big pink flamingo. Like you need a pink flamingo in your yard in Florida, right? Like that's old school 80s.
Sure.
Right. Just a little basic one. And then I found that it was irritating my wife that this was my plan. And so then the next plan was to go bigger and more irritating because, you know, Lonnie and I like to have that relationship. Lots of people are huggy and kissy. We're at the poking and messing with you stage of the marriage after, you know, 20 something years. And so we just had this elaborate thing. We were going to do all this stuff with flamingos and stuff. And then to show what a good sport Lonnie is, every time she finds some obnoxious flamingo thing, we buy it and send it to Eric and Nate. Just because they were part of the joke. And she found these ridiculous, fluffy, actual slippers that were flamingos on the front. Like the whole neck up and the whole thing and the big fluffy body was what went over the toes. And Nate, Eric, and Josh all live in the same house over in Myrtle Beach. Josh is like their field manager for both places. And so we got them all matching pink flamingo house slippers and sent them to them because why wouldn't you?
Makes sense to me.
Right? I mean, yeah, Jimmy is pointing out that I did a final battle at Dreaded last year, jumped in with the players in my flip-flops, and I actually got up to the front and hit a slapstick in my flip-flops, hiding behind. Somebody had this. See, this is weird paintball stuff. I'm sorry. See, this is where my brain goes. I was hiding behind this bunker, and I run to the next one, and somebody had taken – it was like this 3-foot tall plastic chicken.
Okay.
I don't know how it got on the field. It wasn't one of my props, but somebody went up there, and as they went to that bunker, they planted this chicken, and that chicken saved me from like 3 headshots while I was in, you know, ducking and doing this, and the damn chicken took like 3 headshots, which allowed me to get in and actually hit a slapstick, which immediately I let myself die, and I went out, and they're like, hey, get back in. I'm like, my old butt just ran up and hit a slapstick in a final battle at one of my games. I'm walking away a winner. Like, I could have tripped over my own 2 feet just leaving the starting gate there, man. Like, I'm taking my moment and leaving.
Okay, so Jimmy's talking about paintball Crocs.
Yeah. He would do it.
I dislike Crocs more than I dislike flip-flops. Just putting that out there. My brother loves them. I can't hear the word Croc anymore without going to Deadpool. You know what I mean? My bright blue masturbating shoes. Every time somebody just says Crocs, I hear #drive-by.
You know, there's something to them, man. There's a lot of people dig them. I'm in no position to make fun of anybody's footwear, you know.
Hey, well, yours is the footwear of Jesus, so it is
Yeah.
what it is.
His probably had more style than mine, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, we've been at this for an hour and a half.
Oh,
Is there
nice.
anything that we needed to cover about Bones and Ashes?
No, we had a fun time. I think the players had a good time. The air will be better next time, I promise. And yeah, like our next event is Living Legends, and then Dreaded, and then there's a couple months off more or less, and then we get right into our fall schedule, which is going to be Endless Legends, which we've done a few years, and we reintroduce Dead Legends, and it's
Okay.
going to be a true 2-part game. The first part played in Texas, and at the end of the game, the only score that the teams are going to know is whether red is winning or blue is winning, but they won't know the actual score. The same commanders are going to command the second half 2 months later in San Diego in California, and we're going to combine the scores together, and that's the winning score.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty neat, huh?
That is neat. Hope I'm there.
Yeah, I don't know if somebody else has ever done that before. Somebody might have, but I've never seen that before. So we're trying to think of something new and different to try to see if the players like it. I'm hoping it's as fun and as intriguing as it sounds on paper, kind of thing. And then if everything's right in the world, when we're done with that, we're going to Hawaii and get to go see our Hawaiian family again. And you know, Jessica and about another 20 people are going to get some very big hugs because it's been a really long time since I got to see them.
Well, Jessica got on the horn with me when there was a possibility that I was going, like after you and I talked. And we hadn't figured everything out, but I really wanted to go, and I was going to move mountains to make sure that happened. But she got on the horn with me, and she says, just down the road, like a couple miles, there's a beach that they rent out for camping.
Yeah,
so
Camp Alawalo.
So apparently I could have played there and then slept under the stars on the beach in Hawaii.
Yep.
At this
that's a real thing. That's 100% a real thing.
I believe it. It's just
Well, picture the paintball field while you're getting geared up in the parking lot. If you look south on the parking lot, the ocean is just across the street. I mean, it's right there. And for instance, the very first year we were there, the mountain above the field caught fire. Okay. So they were flying helicopters into the ocean to scoop up baskets of water to then fly up the mountain and dump it on the water or on the fire. And they were doing this loop where the empty bucket went over the parking lot, the full bucket went over the field. So the players are getting like spritzed with water as it goes over the top of them. I'm like, this is a fantastic thing you've got here going for the game. I'm like, no, this is not fantastic. This is definitely not fantastic.
The mountain is on fire.
Yeah, like we had been snorkeling Friday morning before the event because we open up registration that afternoon, and it's kind of shaped like an 8, and we were, the field's on this part of the 8, and we were down on this lower part here in Kiai. Is that how you say it? Kiai. I always say it wrong. So, anyways, we're in that area, staying at our hotel, and we're snorkeling. And my buddy looks over and goes, "Hey, how close is that to the field?" Because you see there was clearly smoke from a fire and a good one. I'm like, that's pretty much the field. Yeah, that's right where the field is. Yeah. And then I get a phone call like almost instantly from the owner. He's like, "Okay, the field's not on fire, but we're not opening anything today. We're just going to do it tomorrow because the parking lot is filled with fire trucks trying to put out this fire on the mountain." So I'm like, great, first event out in Hawaii and the field, holy cow. But thankfully nothing happened. And I encourage anybody that could get out there to get out there. The field is fantastic. Maui's beautiful, but they need to meet the Hawaiian players. They're the most chill, draw you into their family, take care of you, look out for you. I mean, the whole family comes. If dad or one of the kids is playing paintball, mom, dad, sisters, brothers, everybody, the dogs, everybody, and they set up these like camp areas and they're cooking and they're everything. I've never experienced it anywhere in my entire life of playing paintball. The family atmosphere. of how they get together and the level of looking out for each other and community. And if they got an extra sandwich, there's no way you're not eating it because they're going to make you. And, and they want to help ref. And they kind of, the players that are out there to play this game, the home team players actually rotate in as refs so that we can keep it going and keep the game going, make sure the players have a good time and they still get to play. And the owner's fantastic. He gets out and play, but it's an experience you have to experience. Like, I not even doing it any justice to how cool they are. I mean, you've gone to watch tournaments. You've been tournament scene in your life. You watch guys run past each other and not even really do the player dirty in the bunker, and they'll still get up and be squawking at each other. Yep. I've seen them practicing, and somebody gets 3 right to the neck. Normally, you'd get up and be still kind of mad about it. They get up and they're like, "Hey, great shot, man. Good shot, brother." Like, they just so enjoy the sport and are so enthusiastic when they play. And you just can't do justice to how excited they are when we come out there, because they can fully participate in, that level or that aspect of the game. It's so cool to be able to bring that to them, and they are so appreciative of it. And just, there's just no way to say it. I know I keep saying you can't describe it, and I keep trying and I'm failing because it's just so special.
I would love to spend a little bit of time in Hawaii because, I know very little about it. What little I know is the very Hollywood version, which is cool, but it's Hollywood. And like when I went to Vegas and I got to hang out with a couple locals, and I was sleeping at their house, and they weren't even paintballers. They were just friends of paintballers. And they're like, "Steve, you want us to crash here?" And they took me around to see the real Vegas that the tourists don't see.
Sure.
Like, mind-blowingly awesome. And that happens as I go from place to place. I try to hook up with locals where I can. I would love to, with going to Hawaii, I get to actually just, as much as camping on the beach would be great, I would much rather just camp in a home. Give me a couch. And it's not that I don't want to pay. I want that real experience. And that's,
and they're fantastic. Like, Ryan Greenspan came out there, wanted to go surfing. So the locals are like, "Oh yeah, we'll hook you up with some guys that are going to go surfing." And they showed me, they know I like turtles. That's kind of obvious. So they showed me all the best insider spots to go find turtles, go swim with sea turtles. And you're in waist deep water, you put your face in the water and there's a freaking turtle right there. And they're just chilling out doing their thing. And we've gone spear fishing out there, and Lonnie's gone horseback riding, and we rented motorcycles and did the road to HONU on Harleys. And just it's so funny. I almost need a vacation when I get back from going, because we are just going nonstop to just suck in as much of it as we can. The culture and the vibe of everybody out there. It's funny because we joke. It's the only time anybody says my name right and Lonnie's name right, because they're both the Hawaiian names. The HONU is really, it's not HONU, it's HONU.
HONU?
Yeah, but nobody says that. Everybody says HONU.
Okay,
and
yeah,
that's just what it's been. And it's easier than correcting people. And I go out there and they say it, and we kind of joke about it because it's my middle name, and it's funny because they say it right, and they say Lonnie's name because usually she gets Lanny because it's Lani.
Yes.
And you get out there and they're like, "Oh, Lonnie, like heaven," because that's what it means, heaven or sky.
Right.
And it's fun being out there and getting immersed into that whole culture. And
now, are you from Hawaii?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. The name came from 2 things. One, I used to surf when I first lived down here in Florida with guys, and they described my surfing style as like an old Hawaiian because I didn't turn. I'd get on the wave, catch the wave, and I'd just go on my way kind of thing. And they're all, doing the weaving and stuff up and down the wave like you see, the pro guys do it. I'm like, I'm just kind of lucky to still be up on the board. I'm just going to go.
Right.
And then I'd get up on the beach, a little bit down the beach, and then I'd walk down and then paddle back out. And so where we were surfing is where a lot of the turtles nest. And so at one point we're waiting in between waves and the nose of my board is sitting up and a baby sea turtle just appeared climbing up my board. And so these guys I were with were very, hippie kind of guys and like, dude, it's an
Right.
almakua and it's your spirit animal and this whole thing. So it became a nickname.
Right.
And that's all it was for the longest time. And then that was my name on Facebook, DJ HONU Fox. And
Right.
then Facebook went on this run probably 10 years ago. I'm asking Lonnie, she's off to the side, like 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. Just went on this weird run of like, if it's not your exact legal name that you can show on a driver's license, we're going to get rid of your accounts. And they like had this whole tangent that they went on it. And somebody flagged mine. And I had like a 2-week or 3-week period to prove that that was my name or they were going to get rid of my account. So my wife, who works for a law firm, is like, you know what we're going to do? Nobody's ever called you anything because like DJ wasn't my birth name either, but it's all anybody's ever called me since I was in like, 4th grade. So she's like, the only part of your name that is right is Fox. Everybody else calls you something else. So she's like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to take on Facebook. So she went and had my name legally changed to DJ HONU Fox to make it match my Facebook thing just so they couldn't screw with my account. Yep. That's actually how that happened. So there.
Oh, give her a big kiss for me for that. Like,
yeah, a little weird inside thing. And it was great because my friends all went nuts. They're like, Lonnie versus Facebook, and Lonnie won. Awesome. She doesn't mess around, man.
Hey, that's awesome. So what was your first
first name was David.
David?
Yep.
That's my middle name. It was my dad's name.
Yeah. My name was David Michael Fox, and I was just called DJ. It was just a nickname forever. It had nothing to do with my name. So I used to win bets when like, I bet you'll never guess my middle name. And they'd know the David part. They're like, okay, DJ. And they'd come up all these crazy middle names with a J. And I'm like, I got this. They're never guessing it's Michael. So I'm set. And so Lonnie had to change. She's like, that's all anybody calls you. She's like, honestly, we could have just changed your name to just one word and just call you, HONU. And everybody would just be like, well, that works.
So were you called DJ after, was it Full House or whatever it was?
No, I was like way before that. It was like when we would have been in like 4th grade, which was way before like Roseanne and stuff like that. We were in a class where there was a David, like 5 Davids. So it became like a David, a Davey, a this, that, and I got DJ and it stuck. So weird story, but there you go. See, I told you we'd get off on tangents. We'd wander off.
I expected it. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have you on. And I hope that you come on more often.
Oh, yeah, anytime you want. I always have fun.
Well, I'd have you on all the time, literally. I have to give if it was my call. I mean, I know it's
really sick of that.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, I know it's my call. And so I'm trying to make sure that I spread things out. But yeah, no. Again, I said at the beginning of the show, I'll say it now. You are one of my all-time favorite guests just because it's just.
Yeah, we have a good time.
I enjoy this thoroughly. So
yeah, being my friend's not easy because there's plenty of head shaking involved, but that's okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we used to joke like I went from being the weird kid growing up to, you've kind of reached a special point in your life when they just start going, oh, he's just like that. It's not, it's not bad. Like he didn't mean it. He's just like that.
Like Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah, he didn't mean to like just randomly trail off in the middle of a sentence and walk away from you. He's not being rude. He saw something shiny and off he went. He'll be back.
Squirrel.
Yeah, he'll be back. Probably have a rum drink with him.
All right, my friend. Well, you have a fantastic night. Thank you so much for being on. You sure there's nobody else you need to plug? Who won Bones and Ashes?
Red side, Chuck won.
Okay.
He won the game. But like, this is where people say I'm like being hippy dippy, but if anybody was at the game, they know for a fact the blue side didn't lose the game. Red side won it. And the difference is blue absolutely did a fantastic job. They worked hard. They made no more or less mistakes than anybody else that's ever commanded a game. And even better, they improved on Sunday noticeably. They were a little bit behind on Saturday, and they improved. They definitely, kind of tightened it up and figured stuff out. And some of the other just today hit me up and he's like, yeah, it's kind of a bummer we lost. And I'm like, dude, you got to hold your head up high. There is nobody on that side of the field that should, even for a second, don't feel like, you won perfectly fine that day. The other side just won better. Like they just won more. It wasn't a situation where, you caused this to happen to yourself and the other guys just had to show up. Blue absolutely brought it hard right up to the last second. Yeah, that's anybody that was there can tell you the truth. That was it absolutely how it went. Some games, one side loses.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You've been to it. There's one game where you're like, you can just tell they ain't ready or they're not putting it all out there.
Right.
Blue absolutely just happened to play a team that was better than them that weekend. And there's no shame in that. You don't hang your head when that happens. Somebody's the silver medal and somebody's the gold. It doesn't mean you're not still fantastic at what you did. And
you're still the podium, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a real thing, man. That's something that I think gets lost in our sport. It's a difference between that and like a participation award. It's not like, hey, we're all winners. We all get trophies. If you want to do that game, you don't want to come to my game because sometimes the scores sound terrible. The spread, and other times they're really close, and I don't fudge them. And sometimes I try to like be polite about it because one side did lose. You know what I mean? And one side won. This game, both sides won. One just had a little bit better score than the other when it was done.
Gotcha.
And that's a good thing because that means those players will be back and better next time.
Right.
And that's cool to me because that just means I got to up my game.
Absolutely.
Which is fun. So that's my challenge.
All right. You need to give a shout out to anybody?
All of you that took the time to listen to us tonight, I appreciate that. I'm sure you're done listening to me ramble for a while, so you won't have to do it for like another month or so until we get together for Legends. But I really appreciate everybody that came to the game, that tuned in tonight, and appreciate you for having me on. It was really nice of you.
No, dude, thank you for being on the show. Like, people don't tune in for me. People tune in for my guests and the stories. So thank you.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. And thanks to Lonnie who, got to play extra Candy Crush tonight since I was doing an interview.
Was this an interview or was this talking with a bunch of friends?
I think you and I could really realize that like we forgot the camera was on. I think that's most of what we do.
Yeah. I have to actually focus on the comments and stuff and try to include them in the story because well,
it's no different than any other time we got together and talked. We just start jabbering and next thing you're like there's other people in the room. Like we should, we're kind of being rude. We did that at World Cup. You and I sat there and started chatting a little while and there was like literally a waiting line of people that wanted to talk to either you or I for different reasons that all had a way. Like I had to give Greg Hastings the 1 second thing because you and I were still talking about something and way knee deep in it. And then I kind of laughed about it. I'm like, okay, I just told Greg Hastings he's got to wait. I'm like, how rude. Like, I don't have to wait for you. I'm Greg Hastings kind of thing. Like, I just kind of laughed about it. But Greg's a great dude. But I thought
he is a great dude.
Then we had that when we were there sitting there talking with Jennifer and everybody. There was just one of those moments where we were surrounded by a lot of people. And we just kind of tuned everybody out for a few minutes while you and I had a conversation.
It's true. It's true.
So luckily we have really good friends.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And I'm serious about the flip-flops. You find the nastiest flip-flops.
Dude,
I will wear them for a picture. Pardon?
Yeah, they're going to be horrible.
I'm just saying, I will wear them for a picture and then I'll put them up. This isn't all. I'm going to be changing all this soon. So
okay, yeah, we'll definitely find some. I'll see if I can find horrible. If I can't find horrible, I'll find real cool.
I'm just saying, I won't play in them, but I'll take a picture in them.
Yeah, don't do that.
You get as creative as you want to. Actually, let's no. I want one thing. All right.
Okay.
Let's keep it family friendly.
Oh, that's all I do.
All right, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. I don't do
because giant rubber adult toys sticking off my feet. No. I don't think I'd really want that.
No, we got plenty of friends that do that kind of stuff. I usually just kind of shake my head, smirk, and walk away.
Yeah,
because it's just not my style. I'm kind of a little more chill than that.
Yeah, I just can't put it up
No, 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 no.
So if you want, like, because I want to include it in my stuff. So
No,
we got before we let you go, Chase has got a question here. All right, Chase, I'm shutting everything down. So
last chance.
Here's your chance.
Lay it out there.
Drum roll. I don't know how that sounded.
There's a lot of pressure,
I can't
man.
hear it.
Seriously, there's like a lot of pressure. Almost like, actually, I don't want to ask my question now. Everybody's looking at me.
Okay, Chase, the entire world right now is waiting on you.
I see that stage fright right there. Right?
We're such dorks.
Right? That's it.
He's probably going to ask, so a train's leaving?
See, I don't. LOL, I don't.
So a train's leaving New York and a train's leaving California.
Right. What color's the tie of the conductor? Huh?
And he punked out.
He's awesome. All right, brother. You have a great night.
We got one. Any future plans to put roles in the game?
Like role players? Possibly. Depends on where the game is. It seems very, depending on what part of the country is, on whether they like role players or not. Northeast, Mid-Atlantic seems to like role players. Other places around the country, hit or miss. So it'll be game specific, and if it's something that works into the game. I've had Brendan Page. Do you know Brendan Page?
I know of him.
Brendan Page came and helped me do some role playing at some games before. So it all depends where we're at and if it fits into the game. It takes a very special person to stick with your vision on that kind of stuff. Like we have the Char, the third faction at Bones and Ashes, and I have the MVP guys do it because they know exactly the vision I'm going for.
Right.
And they play it just right. It can either make or break the game. And so far, the players seem to really enjoy it, and stuff like that. And so it's very specific to me. They're role players because they work for me. So in that case, I've got 30 role players out on the game interacting. They just interact with like a lot of paint aimed at you. But it's a fun thing, and they have a good sense of humor about it too. So we'll see. We'll probably add some, Chase. I'll keep you in the loop. If you have any suggestions or something you want to see, just PM me on the side. That's how Dodgeball happened. So, if I like the idea and we're into it, I'll find a way to work it in the game if it works.
Awesome. All right. That was the last chance question, guys.
HONU's
out of here. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Always, man. No worries.
Awesome. All right, everybody. That was my show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I love having HONU on. Sorry, HONU. HONU. Apparently we're all saying the name wrong, but I think it's morphed to HONU, and it's only a nickname anyway, so we'll just roll with it as that. But yeah, fantastic show. I've been missing shows like this. I've been doing a few too many fake it till you make it and whatnot, and I think I gotta refocus and re-energize. But thank you for all making it this far. It's according to my little clock, we're almost at 2 hours, so gotta cut it. Anyway, I'm gonna go get myself a snack. You all keep your paint dry and play with passion, everyone. Have a good night.